by Siemens.
Welcome to Beyond Now. In this episode, we will talk about COVID-19 and the accelerator for the next manufacturing in pharma. And I have the pleasure that I have two fantastic guests in the show. It's Rebecca, head of pharma in Siemens, and Sebastian, you are head of connected manufacturing systems at the Fraunhofer Research Organization. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I mean, we are talking about COVID. Everybody is talking about COVID. I mean, of course, as the audience, I mean, will see we're currently all still in lockdown. So we are in home office, which is the new normal maybe. And we are doing as well our job, and we're just trying to keep business. So if we look for pharma, I think there are several new challenges with this COVID topic. And this is even my question to you, Rebecca. I mean, there are two challenges I see. One is pharma is one of the key pillars to fight and to manage the challenges of COVID. This is one. And the second one, they have to deal with the whole circumstances like we are now dealing too. So what do you see currently in pharma is going on with the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, going on, as you can imagine, a lot is going on right now in the pharma industry now. And I would say that indeed it's a very important pillar. There is no greater work done today than finding treatments and specifically vaccines, what everybody is talking about now for COVID-19. And what we see is that the pharma industry, the big and the small companies, together with the academia, they're really joining forces and trying to do everything possible, working around the clock to see if existing drugs can be used for COVID-19 infected patients, to ramp up manufacturing of specific medical devices that are so urgently needed in hospitals, to look for new rapid diagnostic tests to really close that gap that we have today, because testing is taking too long and there's too few of them. And then what everybody is talking about is finding this vaccine against COVID-19. Yeah, and I would say that the biggest challenge there for all of these companies is that it's truly a race against time. Yeah, as they have to now come up with these drugs and then also make sure that those are safe and effective at the same time. And yeah, it's a real uphill battle, whereby you would say that this has always been pharma's job to find new drugs and to bring them to the market as quickly as possible. The difference now is that the whole world is watching over pharma's shoulder, and everybody wants to find this vaccine so that we can get out of this situation, because that would really be the key to success right now, to come out of this lockdown, is if we can immunize the entire world population and find a safe and effective vaccine. So pharma is busy, Mirko, I would say, very busy.
Yes. And I still wonder a little bit, because one challenge is agility, being agile. And the second one you said is safety. I mean, how you can be agile and safety at the same time. And the third, and that's why I'm handing over my question to Bastian, is as well as I see is like, as pharma is in lockdown, even they have to deal with a global supply chain, how to manage the global supply chain in terms of that all this global infrastructure is now even affected as well from lockdown. So, Bastian, what do you see like from your perspective as a researcher? What is needed to bring this supply chain in a way that the pharma industry has the ability to go into production as they need it, but also, like keep the stability, keep the safety on bringing that processes in this kind of agile and quick way. So any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I think first of all, we experienced a lot of troubles in terms of the supply chain, in terms of moving goods and products around the globe in such an unforeseen event like the COVID pandemic. So I think first of all, we experience how sensitive all product chains are and what the complexity is doing and regarding such a crisis impact which is a very tough ripple effect where one event can affect all other chain members very dramatically, and we see the complexity in such chains right away. So I think what we trying to do is we see again the supply chain as the core process, strategic process for a company like also in the pharma industry, but for all other industries as well. And I think we see also that information is key. So today we have a lot of personal relationship-based information chains in a supply chain, and even the big players like in the pharma industry maybe have only to tier one very nice transparency, but what is behind all those suppliers, and we don't know anything about them, and we need more information transparency about those suppliers in the back, and that is what we now experience very hard, because some companies have their core product there, but maybe there's a packaging issue because the packaging supplier or sub-supplier is not delivering the things. So we really have to deal with that information transparency and coming to that supply chain map issue, I think.
And it's even, as you said, it's not only the supply chain for the drugs, it's as well the supply chain for the packaging and all the stuff. Because, I mean, even packaging is a security and a safety issue in pharma. So it seems to me rather complicated. And now, like Rebecca, coming back to you, it's, I think, a good question how all these digital new tools now are stepping in and how these tools can support to manage this, I think, huge challenge. Any ideas on how digital transformation helps to amplify and to accelerate the speed here for the pharma industry?
Yeah, plenty of ideas we have as a technology company, as you can imagine. I mean, there's, as I said, it's all about winning this race against time and trying to accelerate. And I think the beautiful thing that we see happening today in the industry is that companies are really collaborating very intensively. Even competitors, have started to work together to not waste time, to not make the same mistakes. So there's this one element of how can we exchange data and information safely and quickly, collaboration platforms that are being implemented as we speak to make that all possible, and not just within your own organization or within your own company, but nowadays then also across borders with multiple companies, academia, etc. So that's one area where a lot of such kinds of tools are being rapidly implemented. Then if we look more around the production process, where Siemens obviously is very active with our customers, there the challenge is a very interesting one, namely our customers are right now developing, if we take the example of the vaccine again, a new vaccine that is in many cases, so we're talking about 180 candidates more or less worldwide, in many of those cases still in the preclinical phase. That means that the product is not entirely known yet. And for that product, however, at some stage a factory needs to be built. And this is really where the power of digitalization can truly help, because here introducing digitalization means that we can upfront and in a virtual manner design these facilities and design these production processes. Upfront, because we don't want to waste any more time now. If that product then at the end of the day goes through all of the clinical phases and gets approved, then we want to be able to produce right away. And virtual, because in a virtual reality, we are able to make mistakes. We're able to make many different versions of such a factory, of such processes. And with simulation tools, with modeling tools, we're able to gain a lot of process understanding, process know-how about critical quality attributes, about critical process parameters. And that allows us to then, in the final end stage, once we go to really the last phases of these clinical trials and have very much fine-tuned that final product, we know exactly what that process needs to look like, and we just open up that one drawer and we have the process in our simulation tool readily available. So yeah, that's fascinating to see all of that happening at a very, very fast pace. And it's a concept that we call the digital twin of that process, whereby we're using, as I said, simulation tools, modeling tools, but also topics around advanced process control, process analytical technology, and even artificial intelligence.
It sounds fascinating. And if we come to the digital twin, my understanding of digital twin, of course, you can test everything in before you ramping up the real production, and even you can test failing, because all what we don't want to do is to fail in a real production environment. So one strength of the digital twin is you can fail in a digital twin and then learn out of the failing. On the other side, it's also a question like, okay, failing is one advantage. Another advantage is maybe like that you can be faster on building or on the construction. Is there, and on the other side, it's always about costs, like and efficiency. So, and this is more like handing over to Bastian, because I know you have tested a lot of digital tools the past years in real environments, and you know always about the promising stuff, like what is the promising of the digital tool and what is then the real outcome, or are the promises, can the promises be kept? So what is your view on all this digital twin issues related to our topics? Is it the promise? Is this really the holy grail we are looking here?
Yeah, that's a big question. We can talk about that. For ours, I think it is one part and one artifact of the promising future about digitalization. But especially in pharma, I see a big shift to very low volume medicals and very high mix of the orders. And I think if we there is a big part or a big challenge, a big question about the people which may be assembled, hybrid manual, also the packaging of the medicine, for example. And I think the duration of one product is shortening all the time, also in the future. And compared to the past, I think we need assistance systems in terms of assisting people to adapt very fast to that new circumstances. So the one part is to simulate all the machines, the processes, and to see what's happening inside the machines. But on the other hand, we have those people, workforce in the factories or packaging sites, and in terms of low volume, high mix, we need to train them very fast, maybe in a digital way. So I think it is always a trade-off between flexibility and changeability part and the productivity thing, and we need to deal it out. What is the best mixture between those things? But I think we could also imagine about the digital twin stuff, to use it for training people, for bringing people very fast in that adaptation for the new processes, and to make sure that they can really work properly in those processes, and of course that modularization part of the machines and so on. And that is I think one of the biggest questions, how to put the people inside those processes.
Which is for me a fascinating point, because it shows something like we can use the digital twin, of course, to accelerate everything. What we are doing is around planning new production or replanning production, so that we can just go much quicker into the vaccine issues and help pharma industries to set up all the infrastructures and resources to bring the vaccines on the market. And on the other side, it's rather clear that this is a technical or process approach, but we also need to bring in the people on the shop floor, on the production side, because I mean, machines is the one hand you can do automation, but on the other side, you need the people who are inside the facilities, who are working with the machines. And even in pharma, we know it's all about safety and security. So, Rebecca, what do you see? How can the digital twin results and digital twin methods be used for the humans inside the factories and the shop floors?
Yeah, well, first of all, maybe I'll pick up on the point that Bastian was making, which is a nice bridge towards your question there, Mirko, and that is that indeed digital twin, and not just in pharma, in many industries, specifically there where safety is top priority, like an oil and gas kind of market, where we see such digital twins now really being used as simulation engines to train workforce for offshore platforms already when they're still on land. So also in pharma, that is definitely one of the key elements why we think it is then easier later on for the workforce to be introduced to these processes, because they are virtually already familiar with that setup, with that factory. So that's easy to understand, I think. But in addition, there are other benefits to a digital setup. For example, the topic in pharma that is in the meantime slowly but surely taking up speed, that is electronic batch. So in pharma, there's still a lot of things done on paper, and it's extremely important to track many of these processes and their quality somehow logged. Unfortunately, that still physically is done with paper notebooks. Yeah, and this is definitely going to help the workforce if they're able to log these things in an IT environment, whereby at the end of the day, it even makes it possible to accept certain batches of production by just looking at the exceptions of what might have gone wrong during the production process, rather than checking each and every single step of the way. So we're gaining a lot of time there. We're obviously avoiding mistakes that might have happened if all of this was done in a paper fashion. And we're also much better controlling who has access to this data, because a paper notebook I can leave anywhere and I don't know who's looking into that, right? So that's one of the key benefits. Another interesting topic there is around process analytical technology. So that has to do with how do I implement quality inside of my production process to such an extent that I can even measure it in an inline, online, or at-line manner, rather than taking a sample, sending that off to the lab, having that quality lab checking for the specific parameters that I would like to see, and then calling it a quality product. In the case of process analytical technology, I usually don't even have to take a sample. If I don't have to take a sample, that means that I don't have to physically access the process. I don't have to open up a certain machine. Therefore, I don't have a possibility to have my workforce running day job with some human intervention. So, or even if I'm thinking of the toxic products, I don't have to have that intervention if I'm not taking any samples anymore. So many ways where digitalization is helping our workforce staying safe and helping our processes to be better integrated.
And this sounds to me rather important to understand that everything which has happened around now, Corona and COVID-19, has forced us towards being more brave on digital transformation. I think not only in pharma, if you take it in general, like we are now talking, doing an interview in this way, and maybe a couple of weeks before this would be no way to do this. But even if you go to the industry that we see, okay, it's even accelerating this kind of digital transformation, because people are now needed to use digital tools in a more collaborative manner. You can't do paperwork anymore in this way, because if everybody is separated, and you need the digital tools. So and it's needed to speed up everything in the pharma business for bringing the vaccines into the market on a safe way. So this was really interesting to me. So we are almost at the end of the show. And at the end, I would give you the chance to just make your famous last statement for the show, and bring in, what do you think, what is most needed for our topic from your perspective. And I would just hand over to Bastian. Just what do you think, like what needs to be done from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. I would conclude it in a general way of perspective. I think, like you said, many companies are experimenting, are trying things, and seeing that some activities can do easily by using digital tools. Nobody would have expected before. So I think now we are in that experimenting room. We looked so long for, and I think there should be or there will be two categories of companies. I think one crew would say, okay, hoping such disruption event won't ever happen again, and we just move on like before. And other companies, I think that is the more future directed company or group, which is trying to see what is possible and what things could change, and using that crisis like a booster for more agility in the organization, for other collaboration types, and trying to bring that digital transformation online.
Okay, Rebecca?
Yeah, fully agree with Bastian. I think how I would like to conclude specifically then for the pharma industry is that this is a race against time that the world can only win or be faster at if we all collaborate, and that means and pharma companies and academia and technology companies as soon as possible. So my appeal would be that please let us all work on the same great cause that is to immunize the world here with the right vaccine and with the right drug products to overcome this crisis.
Yeah, cool. So let me conclude with my view, and I think what we see are exceptional times, still exceptional times, and we see somehow even digital disruption coming up. And whatever we are doing, these challenges we are facing in pharma and even as a society can't be achieved without using digital tools and digital collaboration. That's what I see, because this is extending our possibilities, and even we can join forces we never had in before. It's, to me, what I see, it's rather powerful. Mm-hmm. So, and this is really a rather positive thing which we are now going. And thanks for being here in the show at Beyond Now. And Rebecca, Bastian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best. Stay healthy.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Siemens.